Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, children of the living God, let me take you to the beginning. Not just the beginning of a book or a story, but the very beginning of everything. The book of Genesis opens not with a man, not with a nation, but with a God so powerful, so self sufficient, that he needed nothing but his own voice to create everything we now see. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. This is not poetry. This is not myth. This is a declaration of truth. God didn't emerge from the world emerged from God. Creation, God's supreme power. He spoke, and galaxies were flung into the void. He whispered, and time itself began to tick. He commanded, and light pierced the darkness. Day after day, God shaped the world with precision and beauty, light and darkness, sky and sea, earth, plants and stars, birds, beasts, and every living thing. But then God did something different, something divine. He formed man, not from lightning, not from fire, but from dust. And then he breathed into that dust and made it alive. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. This moment reveals something essential. God is not just powerful, he is personal. He doesn't just rule, he relates. He doesn't just command, he communes. The fall, God's justice and mercy. But man, given freedom, made a choice. Adam and Eve reached for the fruit, tempted by the serpent, thinking they could be like God. But here's the truth: God doesn't fear competition, because there is none. He is God alone, unmatched, uncreated, and unchanging. And yet, when man fell, God didn't destroy him. He disciplined, yes, but he clothed them. He promised a Redeemer who would crush the serpent's head. This is how God is God, just and yet merciful. He does not tolerate sin, but he does not abandon the sinner. The flood, God's purity. By the time of Noah, evil filled the earth, violence, pride, rebellion, and yet Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. God told him to build an ark, not just for survival, but as a sign that God will preserve a remnant, no matter how dark the world gets. Then came the rain, the flood, the cleansing of creation. But once again, God makes a covenant. He places a rainbow in the sky, not just for beauty, but as a symbol of his promise. This is God's character, faithful in justice, and even more faithful in mercy. Babel, God's sovereignty. Mankind tried again to build a name for themselves at the Tower of Babel, trying to reach heaven on their own terms, but God is not mocked. He scattered them, confused their language, and reminded all generations that he alone is God, not man. The call of Abraham, God's purpose. Then comes a turning point. God calls Abram, not a king, not a prophet, just a man from Ur. But God says, through you I will bless all nations. Genesis now shows a God who is not only creator and judge, but also covenant maker. He walks with Abraham, he tests his faith, he provides a ram instead of Isaac on the altar. This is a God who provides, a God who leads, a God who reveals his plan over time. Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, God's providence. The story continues with Isaac and Jacob, men flawed yet chosen, and then Joseph, betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. Yet in every moment God was with him. Joseph would one day tell his brothers, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." That's not just a personal story, it's a revelation that even in betrayal, injustice, and pain, God remains God. He rules over chaos. He works through suffering. He turns evil into deliverance. And so, how is God truly God? 1. He creates without limit. There is nothing too hard for him. 2. He rules with justice. He cannot be corrupted. 3. He shows mercy undeserved. Grace flows from his heart. 4. He chooses whom he pleases. He called Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not because they were perfect, but because he is sovereign. 5. He redeems what seems lost. From the garden to Egypt, he never gives up on his purpose.
Final words. Genesis is not just a story. It's the foundation of all stories. It tells us who we are, made in God's image, what went wrong, sin, what God is doing about it, redemption. And above all, it shows us who God is. He is the Alpha before there was a beginning, the voice that spoke and it was done, the promise maker who cannot lie, the judge who still shows mercy, the provider who gave us more than a lamb. He gave us his son. That's how we know God is God. Not because we made him up, but because he made us and he's still writing the story. Thank you.